guys, it's Sam, and today I'm going to talk about Booktube versus TikTok. The pros, the cons of both, the differences. My brain wants to say the sameities. Similarities. That's the word. This video was voted on by my Patreon supporters. Every month my Patreon supporters vote in a poll for a video topic that I'll do, books I'll read. We have a Discord, there's a lot of shit. I will leave my Patreon on the screen if you want to check that out. It's called The Bibliothecary. So I've been on Booktube since 2014. I've been on TikTok since like 2020, but I only started making Booktok content end of last year, I want to say. So coming up on a year, but not quite. But time moves fast, you know? I have a pretty good idea of like Booktok and Booktube, while also knowing that like I know things within the niche of like who I follow and stuff. And I don't actually tend to follow like big Booktalkers or big Booktubers. I know a lot more about Booktube, it's just I've been around long enough to know. TikTok, I don't know like all the big people, trends, whatever. But this is more talking about content creation on both platforms. Again, pros and cons as a creator or a viewer, all that stuff. I just want to talk about it because I am seeing the thing that happened to us when we started, where a lot of bloggers were kind of shit talking Booktube as like the new thing. They don't know what they're talking about. They're just flashy and, you know, they're getting all this hype for no reason and blah, blah, blah. Now the same thing is happening with Booktube talking shit on TikTok. And like, neither platform, no platform, social media platform about books is a monolith. So you can find good in all of them is going to be my main point. But I did want to talk about both and like my feelings on both because I'm having different experiences with both of them. So I will start with TikTok and then kind of compare it to Booktube stuff. So the pros of TikTok. One of the reasons that I got into making TikTok content is it has the smallest barrier to entry. The nice thing about TikTok is it really kind of rewards anyone making content. It's easy, you can make it on the app, you don't need to learn any kind of software, anything. You can sort of like build a brand-ish, but you don't have to in the same way that maybe people do on like Booktube or something with like having to create like a banner and all this shit. Like you put a profile picture on, you have some kind of bookish name and you're done. And you can even change that if you need to. Like you can change your name around and it's not really hard like it is on YouTube. Also, like there's so many filters that if you don't want to get ready and look nice that day, you can just use a filter. Cameras are better now anyway on phones, so it's a little bit easier to just make good content from your phone than it ever was anyway. But again, you can edit it all in the app. There's like sounds, there's so much you can do with it that it's so easy to get into it. Another cool thing about it is there's just like quick videos. All of the content is short form, which that's not good or bad necessarily, but I will say for like the quickness of being able to edit something quickly, you can respond to things quickly like as they're happening. I remember the stress of like my early Booktube days when like something would happen. I specifically remember the Kathleen Hale reviewer stalking drama and me needing to like make a video really quick to get on it, like as people are talking about it, blah, 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 and you have to film, you have to edit, you have to do all that thing. With TikTok, you can just post it really quick. You can film and post it pretty quick. It's short form, although they are giving some people the options of 5 and 10 minute videos, not me, but some people are getting those. So that is a thing that they're giving an option to. That shorter form content is easier to get out. So even now with my content creation, it's easier for me to make like bulk film a bunch of TikTok videos than it is obviously to bulk film a bunch of YouTube videos. And it's quicker to get that content out. Another pro I would say of Booktok specifically is the variety of content, and not that there's not a variety of content on Booktube, because there definitely is. However, I think it's easier to make a variety of content on TikTok. Booktube can be very formulaic at times with like there's wrap-ups, there's reviews, and there's kind of like discussions, maybe some like tier ranking lists and things, vlogs, but you can do all of those things on TikTok. Plus there's all these different sounds. There's sort of the culture of TikTok and like sort of having memes within memes, internet culture stuff. There are tags, so there's a little bit more of like the TikTok tags. There's a bunch of filters that have like things above your head. If you're not on TikTok, you're not gonna know what I'm talking about. It would almost be like a roulette thing, like showing you different images that you can incorporate into videos. Like there's so much you can do that I feel like it's even easier to be creative on that platform without thinking of it yourself. You don't have to think of anything. You can just do stuff with what the app gives you, which I think is really fun. And I think it makes you more creative by doing that. Like I definitely feel like my TikTok content has reinvigorated my Booktube content, which I'll get to. Also as a content creator, it is easier to grow on TikTok. if you know anything about TikTok, TikTok videos can just blow up randomly for no reason. So even people who like weren't making content for anybody can have videos go to like millions of views. It also is like a really good algorithm in that it knows sort of what your niche is and it'll push that to the right people. And also, so then as a viewer, I will also say a pro of it is it's like much easier to find the content you like on TikTok. That algorithm is top notch. So if someone's ever complaining about their TikTok, like For You page, or complaining about TikTok in general, I'm like, one, you don't know anything about TikTok, because if you're not seeing stuff you like on there, it's because you're not watching the right stuff and liking the right stuff, and like that's totally your fault, because the For You page is perfect. It's like brain bugs. They are like, they know you. So if you're not seeing the kind of content that you want to see on there, it's because you went on there for 2 minutes, didn't see anything you liked because they just popped out like whatever the most popular stuff was and they didn't realize what you liked. If you're engaging with book content, you're gonna see book content. If you're seeing the same 5 books all the time, it's because you're engaging with the same 5 books all the time. You will get more if you engage differently. So I like that the For You page is very adaptive in that way as a viewer, and for me getting like introduced to other creators and things like that, I'm not only seeing the top creators, those are not the only ones that are recommended to me. In fact, hardly any of like the top Booktok creators are recommended to me, but also as a creator, it's easier for people to see your content from their For You page if they're liking stuff similar to what you're putting out there, and the app just does it for you. Another really cool thing is video replies. I love video replies. As somebody who chose video formats for talking about books, it's beautiful, because sometimes I don't want to write a whole freaking comment, especially a TikTok comment, because there's a very small word length. The YouTube comment's slightly different, but I also think I convey what I'm trying to talk about so much easier in a video reply. Also, if someone's being a brat to you and you video reply, it's a little bit of a get out of here kind of thing. I have also just gotten better with my boundaries on TikTok than I ever was on YouTube, where if someone's being like really shitty at this point now, I'm like, I will block you. It feels easier to me than on Booktube for some reason. I don't know why that is, but the video replies are awesome for those reasons of people being shitty, but also for just continuing of a conversation. People can also ask you questions in like a Q&A kind of thing, almost like a Tumblr inbox, and you can video reply to them. It's so nice. There are some content creators, not so much on Booktube, but in other parts of TikTok, that their whole channel is just video replies, like replying to comments. It's awesome. I already kind of mentioned this with the creativity, but I do want to again point to the sounds. So you can use different TikTok sounds. It's kind of like background music, but there's also ones people just use like, again, as sort of like meme production, which again makes it very easy to be creative. It also just adds a certain ambiance to your videos. Like depending on what you're talking about, you can like pick a sound, and again, you don't have to find it, you don't have to go searching for it. Do you know how many hours of my life I've spent trying to find the perfect copyright-free music on like Google for a YouTube video? You don't have to do that with TikTok. It's wonderful. And just overall, I will say TikTok is great for, again, knowing who you are and what you're into, and has a less formulaic feeling. It just has a wider variety of, do you want to see aesthetics videos? Do you want to see fan art? Do you want to see fan merch? Do you want to see reviews? Do you want to see discussions? Do you want to see any genre? It's all on there. And it's on Booktube too, but it's harder to find. So let me get to that. First, I want to talk about the cons of TikTok. One, again, from a content creation standpoint, but even for if you're like making random videos in general, people might not know you or be as loyal to you as they would on something like YouTube, where they're watching a lot of your long form content and are probably only seeing you because they're subscribed to you. TikTok, because videos can pop up on your For You page, well, people sometimes respond to something and like have no context for who you are and will come at you in a very combative way, or just like not understanding something or something you've already talked about, and they won't have like, this is also just sort of like user error, but people don't tend to go and check the people's profiles. Like they just kind of, because it's so easy, they will just talk about something. So people don't really have like a foundation of your content and things to kind of go off of, which can be a little challenging sometimes. And also the amount of followers you have on TikTok doesn't really translate to like the community of subscribers you would have on Booktube. Booktube subscribers, I would say, from my experience, are just like a little more loyal, tend to know you, all of that. And also, Booktube does kind of churn out, like the, you know, YouTube subscriber page churns out the kind of content you want to see in chronological order. With TikTok, you do have sort of like a following For You page, but it's not necessarily showing you all of what you want to see in chronological order. So people are going to miss your content unless they're checking all the time, or the For You page is pushing it to their For You page. Because most people check TikTok for their For You page, even though there's also a friends page, which is mutuals, or a like follower page with people that you're following. So the community aspect of it is not as easy as like a YouTube is. The other thing that's kind of the opposite side of the coin of the thing I said earlier, and that you can respond really quickly to things, you can make videos quickly, whatever, is there's probably some downside to that. Like similar to the thing we experience on Twitter when people like talk too much without having context. I think a similar thing probably happens on TikTok, where you might make a video, might not have a ton of context, and like you popped off before you needed to. I haven't so much done that because I learned from Twitter, but I do think it happens, where it's like you're allowed to respond too soon, and then the conversations move so lightning fast on TikTok. Similar to Twitter, again, it's like a similar vibe there because of ease of access and all that, same reasons, but we see how that goes, right? And so like, the way that we lightning round through discussions and stuff is kind of wild. Another creator specific thing is you can't really make money from TikTok. There is a TikTok creator fund. Tons of people smarter than me have talked about this though, where the creator fund on TikTok is like a limited pool. So the more people that join the TikTok creator fund, the less money everybody gets. And even for a viral video, you'll get like cents. You know, like nothing. I'm not on the TikTok creator fund because I've heard it's not really helpful. Where YouTube, you get paid for the ads that are on your video. So while people aren't necessarily like booktubers, aren't necessarily making full-time job money or anything like that, except for like the highest ranking booktubers, it's still something, right? It's still, you're still being paid for your content, even if you're not working with like sponsors or anything like that. So I do think that that's a perk of Booktube. Like I mentioned with the community thing, I do think it's also harder to just build friendships on TikTok. For that same reason, you do have this like friend feature where it'll show you people that are your mutuals. It'll say friend next to their username if a video of theirs pops up. But I'm still, I don't get the same feeling that I got when I was like making friends on Booktube. Again, because of the frequency of like videos and being able to watch everybody's stuff, like I don't see all of my friends' stuff on TikTok. So it's a little bit harder. You have to be like a little bit more intentional about it as far as forming friendships on TikTok. Does it happen? Yes, I've seen people that are like, yeah, these are my Booktok friends. But I just feel like in comparison, it is harder. That could also just be the like both platforms in general. I'll talk about Booktube in a second, but maybe it is also just like how people connect now, I don't know. As I mentioned, shorter vids can be a pro and con. There are some things that are better as long form content, which I think YouTube is always gonna do better. Even when TikTok has a 5 and 10 minute feature, I don't wanna watch a 5 or 10 minute video on TikTok. I wanna watch a YouTube video in that case that I can speed up. Like I mentioned with the For You page, I will say that it's slightly harder to find your niche initially. Like you have to put some effort into your For You page before it's actually gonna be great. Is that effort really like maybe 2 hours of watching TikToks? Less than that probably, yes. So it's not like, again, it's not a huge barrier to entry, but it's not the same on YouTube where you can just search and find the stuff you wanna see. Like you can search hashtags on TikTok, but TikTok and YouTube like search are both kind of crap, but at least YouTube you can kind of find stuff a little bit easier. So I feel like it's a little bit easier to find your niche there. As far as topics of stuff, it's harder to find new creators on YouTube though. And the last piece as far as Booktok is Booktok is behind Booktube as far as the books that they're reading. This happens pretty much like every time there's like a new platform that comes out where a lot of the same books get talked about and a lot of the really popular books get talked about. And that's usually because we're having people returning to reading as a hobby. They maybe haven't read before ever, or they read as a kid and they're returning to it. And so they're getting the big name titles that were maybe popular 5 years ago, are sort of tried and true. People already know about them. And so those are the ones that they're finally reading. But they do tend to be like 5 years behind as far as like the really, really popular books on like Booktube 5 years ago are the ones that are popular on TikTok. They still have new releases. Like this is not a universal thing, but I will say like the popular Booktok books were popular Booktube books like in the past. All right, let me talk about Booktube now. And I already kind of mentioned some of these things in juxtaposition to Booktok. The pros of Booktube are obviously the longer form content. You can make longer form content and it is so much easier to do that on that platform, edit it down, all of that. YouTube is for long form content. And as YouTube has evolved over the years, now long form content is bigger than ever. People are rewarded for 20, 30, 40 minute videos, video essays, things like that. I haven't seen people do that so much on Booktube, and I've seen more of those like sort of challenge videos or like I read this series and it was awful or whatever. Like exposés, for lack of a better term, which I do want to talk about in a separate video about like how I feel like the state of Booktube is now, which I will do at some point. Longer form content is a pro of Booktube. Like I mentioned before, there's more of a community feel on Booktube as well. You have loyalty there, you have a base that knows you, has probably been following you for a while. If people subscribe, they tend to stay subscribed. You just tend to get a more solid foundation there of a community feel, easier to make friends, things like that. I also mentioned the money aspect of you get Google AdSense, it's very easy to set up, all of that. And I do feel like so far publishers do trust Booktube slightly more, just because they're familiar with it, but this happens every time, they get used to it. There are publishers working with TikTok now, it's not like it's unheard of, but I do think that they still like, it always takes some time for a new platform and like publishers to know what's going on there. So there is a little bit of that. Like I mentioned too, I do think there's slightly more time for nuance. Because you have to take a little bit longer to put a video out, people are not just gonna talk about crap all the time. I mean, you can, but it takes, you have to like think a little bit more and put together something a little bit more. It has to be slightly more polished, I guess, with Booktube. And then you just have more time in the videos because you have way more time to talk within the videos on YouTube. Now the cons, it's much larger barrier to entry. Like I mentioned earlier, all of the things you have to do to set up a YouTube channel, it's harder for people to find your content. There's people that like never get their content seen ever. The YouTube recommends page is garbage and has been forever. The search function's pretty garbage, but a little better, but still pretty bad. So it's nearly impossible, unless you're getting sort of recommended by other channels, finding new channels that are within the niche that you like. Can people recommend you channels or like, oh, I like this person, sure, but like TikTok, I do think has the upper hand in finding not only the kind of content that you're gonna like as far as what they're talking about, but even like personality matches, where that's impossible on YouTube. They have no function for that, and that kind of sucks. So as a content creator, it's hard to get a following on YouTube, and it's hard as a content watcher to find the kinds of people that you wanna watch. It takes more effort to do. Another thing that kind of goes with that community thing, I didn't mention this in TikTok, but this is kind of a pro of TikTok. It depends on how you look at it, but the con of Booktube is that you can't necessarily like repeat a lot of content, and not that you want to like repeat things word for word, but things will get very stale if you're talking about, say, the same books or doing the same kinds of content all the time. It's less of a problem on TikTok because, like I mentioned before, not everyone is seeing all of your content back to back to back, right? So you could really make 3 videos on the same book, and some people are gonna see all those 3 videos, but a number of people that'll be like all different people, For You pages being pushed out to, technically, like a little bit, there's a little bit of crossover there, obviously, this is not a black and white thing. But you can like talk about a lot of the same things. Like there's been people who have asked me like to make a recommendations video about a certain topic, and I'm like, oh yeah, I already did that, but I can do it again. And then it's a whole new brand of people seeing it, you know, because new people have discovered me since then. You know, where with YouTube, it's very easy. You can still go back and watch videos on TikTok. I just feel like the TikTok community doesn't do that so much. So with Booktube, it's like, yeah, well, I can't make the same video on my favorite villains once every 3 months, but you could probably do that on TikTok, because even if someone did scroll back, it would be so far, because you can put out daily content in a way that you can't on Booktube. So it would still be new and fresh to people. So that's kind of a pro, again, from that creativity standpoint of like, Booktube, again, I've been on it for 8 years. It's sometimes hard to think of new content now. It's like, I've kind of talked about everything, and unless you're reading new books, which I am, but like, I've kind of talked about everything, so I'm just making updates to my old videos, you know? So Booktok, you don't necessarily have that. So there is that kind of situation going on as far as content creation. Now, there are some things that are present on both. For example, and I will say both of these are cons, the same conversations happen on both platforms, and it's exhausting. I will say, like, TikTok is behind Booktube, so even in their discussions of things, it's behind Booktube, but honestly, Booktube also have the same conversations over and over and over again, and we have for years. Because new people join the community, they're not familiar with the conversations, we're having them again, but it's the same shit all the time, and that shit's exhausting. But sometimes I don't engage with it, sometimes I do. The fact that as a community we still haven't quite gotten past those 101 conversations that I've been begging to get past since like 2016 is wild to me. But that's the nature of humans and cycles and all of that. Also, a con, both platforms punish you in different ways from straying away from your niche. On Booktube, you're punished kind of by your community. Like if your community followed you for a certain thing, they're not really gonna watch your content that's about something else. Some people will, some people follow you for your personality and will watch anything, but generally speaking, your views are gonna suffer on a video of something outside of your niche. Like if I post on my Booktube channel something not about Booktube, it's gonna make way less views than if I posted it on my other channel. I have a second channel, it's down below if you wanna check it out, that is all my not Booktube stuff. And so it's kind of better to separate those things because your community kind of punishes you a bit for leaving your niche. But TikTok as a community and then as an app punishes you for leaving your niche. So if you post a video, even if it does really well on something outside your niche, TikTok almost then moves you into that niche, and then people, like, it's not pushing your actual content of like book stuff, for example. So you can also get in trouble that way with getting outside of your niche. So it kind of makes you like really zone in on what it is that your content is about. So yeah, in summary, I want to talk about this because people have asked me like, how do you feel about Booktok versus Booktube now that you've done both and blah, blah, blah. Neither one is better than the other. I would say for content creators, again, neither one is better than the other. The only thing that's better about YouTube is that it does pay you. But again, if it's harder barrier to entry and to find people to follow you, who cares, right? So I like both. I think they supplement each other actually really well. Not in a subscriber like translating way. Like I don't think I'm getting a lot of subscribers on YouTube because of TikTok followers, because it's two different platforms. Short form content versus long form content isn't necessarily going to translate, but I do think the creativity that I get from talking about stuff on TikTok does promote more creativity for my on Booktube. Conversations can happen kind of both ways. I have also found new books from Booktok. For me, my Booktube subscription page has kind of died a bit over the years, and I've talked about this, and I will talk about it in my State of Booktube kind of conversation that I'll probably post next month sometime. I haven't filmed it yet, but I'm going to because I want to talk about it. But a lot of people that I followed and that I really liked and whose content I really liked left Booktube like years ago. And finding new people is so much harder on Booktube, so it's harder to like get inspiration from Booktube, but I get way more inspired by Booktok. I found new books from Booktok, things like that. So I like both. If you are deeply opposed to Booktok because you've heard of like Booktok shit and you're like, oh, it's all spicy romance and whatever, it's a big part of it if you want to look at that, but there's plenty of other, like I have now curated a page of science fiction and fantasy people that are very much my vibe. So you can do that. I would recommend like not shitting on a whole platform. Have we not learned? It happens every time a new platform comes up. Have we not learned? So yeah, there are people that are new to the reading hobby and like maybe their tastes are very different because they're new to the hobby, but there's still a lot of value there. And again, you can curate it so much. So I like both. If you want to be a content creator, see if long form or short form content appeals to you more. But yeah, those are my thoughts on both. Neither one is perfect. Both have fundamental flaws. Both sort of complement each other. And I plan on staying on both. If you don't follow me on TikTok, it's thoughtsontomes_. So follow me there for short form content. But comment below and let me know what you think of both platforms. If you have a different experience than me, again, you're so easily able to curate your content on TikTok, so everyone's gonna have kind of a different experience. But yeah, comment below and let me know. So thank you all for watching. I'll see you guys soon. Bye.